It is with great joy that I spend a few hours with you teaching you the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And I welcome every one of you here today because this lecture has potential to help you to become a better leader and to change your life. And somebody asked me recently, they said, John, how long did it take you to write the book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership? And I know I shocked them because I looked at them and said, about 20 years. Now, people know I'm slow, but that's really slow. What I was really saying to them is a book like The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership has to be birthed with a lot of experience. In other words, there are some books you don't write real quickly. There are some books you just kind of let them marinate and let them simmer so that you can truly bring out the laws. And the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership was kind of formed not only in a process of time, but about 5 years ago, I sat down one time and I asked myself, in leading people for 20, 25 years, what lessons have I learned about leadership? What principles, what thoughts have I learned that really would make a difference? And what I came to the conclusion was this, that there are a lot of wonderful leadership thoughts, there are a lot of leadership principles. But when you start boiling down to laws, there are just a few of them. And I would like to talk to you about the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and I would like to begin in your workbook by sharing with you how these laws were qualified. How did we qualify these laws? How did we turn around and say, okay, these are more than principles, these are more than leadership thoughts, these are truly laws. And I'm going to share with you in your notes the qualifying test to becoming a leadership law. For example, number one, these laws are not based on culture, gender, or age. Simply stated, these laws cross all type of cultures. And I know that because I have taught the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership in over 20 countries. And no matter whether I'm in India or the Philippines or South Africa, it doesn't matter. These laws cross right over. In other words, people there say, oh my goodness, that applies to me. And for it to be a law, it has to cross culture, it has to cross obviously gender, and it has to be able to be applied to all ages. The second qualifying test to becoming a leadership law is the fact that they relate and apply to all communities. When I say all communities, we've taught the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership in the business community, the academic community, the religious community. Hey, we've even taught the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership in the government community. Whoa, that's a real accomplishment, okay? And I remember a couple of years ago, the Department of Transportation Secretary called me up and said, I want you to come and we're going to bring in the top 500 people in the DOT all over America, and we've been studying the 21 laws. We want you to come in and teach. And I had an incredible day with them. But these laws cross over all communities, all genders, all ages, all cultures. That's what makes them the law. Qualifying test number three, they're recognized by other leaders as leadership laws. In other words, one of the things I did in the process of writing this book and preparing this lecture is the fact I sat down with other leaders and I said, let me ask you a question. Do you think this is a leadership law? And often, many times, these key players would look at me and say, you know what, John, that's a great thought, but let me give you an exception. It doesn't work over here. And I'd say, hey, you're exactly right. It doesn't work over here. So other great leaders came around me and really helped me to form what I call these 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And then qualifying test number four. They stand the test of time. You can take these irrefutable laws of leadership and you can put them in this century, you can put them 5 centuries ago. In fact, I have a wonderful friend, Jim Garlow, who just finished writing a book, and it's an incredible book, where he takes the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership and he takes people throughout history, going back to thousands of years, and he talks about how many of them violated the law, how many of them applied the law and were successful with it. And I've had the time of my life just reading this book because all of a sudden I'm seeing the 21 laws as they operated in the times of Caesar and in the times of the Civil War. The laws, they stand the test of time. Now, let me make just 3 or 4 observations quickly about the laws. Observation number one is, and here's the good news, I love this one. These laws can be learned. You and I can learn these laws. And the reason I know that is because I've taught these laws for many, many years, and I could literally put names behind every law. In other words, I could literally sit down and say, with this law, I've mentored and taught people this. They've learned these laws. These laws can be learned. Now, just take a moment with the studio audience here. Here's what I want you to know. As I go through the 21 laws of leadership with you, there are some you're going to do well, there's some you aren't going to do well. Don't get discouraged because you can learn the law. You can apply yourself and you can learn it. In fact, let's just take a time out for a moment. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, even you can learn these laws. Go ahead and tell them that. Even you. In fact, look at your neighbor, look back at your neighbor and say, in fact, this is the reason I brought you today. Yeah. I was certainly hoping that you could learn these laws. Okay. The second observation I want to make is this. These laws stand alone. What I mean by that is, it's possible in law number 2 that you don't do well. Law number 3, you do well. It's not like building a house where you put brick upon brick. They truly do stand alone. And when I say they stand alone, each law has the possibility of helping you, or each law has the possibility of hurting you, but they're not dependent upon other laws. They don't build on each other. They all stand alone. Observation number 3 is that these laws carry consequences. Now let me explain to you exactly what I mean by when I say these laws carry consequences. About a year ago, I was lecturing on the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and a guy came up to me, and I'll never forget, he looked at me and said, I just finished reading your book, and he said, I just want you to know, John, I don't agree with one of your laws. And when he told me that, I looked at him, and I smiled, and I said, I don't care. And that kind of threw him for a loop, because I think he thought I would care. And he looked at me and said, what do you mean you don't care? I said, I don't care if you don't agree with one of those laws. He said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, they're laws. Whether you agree with them or not, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of like the law of gravity. Somebody coming up to you and say, you know, I just don't buy into the law of gravity. I don't care. But I tell you what, go up to the third-story window. Jump out. In a millisecond, you will buy in to the law of gravity. See, the laws are the laws. And the laws, they don't ask you to buy into them. They just tell you that if you do buy into them, you're going to prosper. And if you don't buy into them, it's going to hurt you. These laws have consequences. So let me tell you one of my favorite stories. It's the story of two guys. They weren't good golfers. I love to play golf, so I love golf stories. Okay, two guys, they're not good golfers, and they get up on the first tee, and the first guy, he sets it up, and he tees it up. He hits the ball, and much to his surprise, for the first time in his life, he hits the ball right down the middle of the fairway. I mean, he is so excited. In fact, this guy's such a terrible golfer, he has never seen his ball after he hit it. This is the first time he can literally say, there's my ball, there's my ball. So he's walking down the fairway with his buddy, and he's so excited because he's in the middle of the fairway. And much to his surprise, the ball is not only in the middle of the fairway. When he gets there, about 200 yards out, it has rolled up on a 4-inch anthill. It's teed up. He grabs his 3-wood, looks at his buddy, and says, this is of God. Swings as hard as he can, misses the whole ball, and kills 5,000 ants. Miracle of miracles, that golf ball that was up here stayed on top of the anthill. Now it's only 2 inches up. It's still teed up. He grabs his 3-wood. He says, I get a second chance. Swings as hard as he can the second time, misses the ball again, and kills 4,998 ants. There are 2 ants left. One ant looks at the other and says, I don't know about you, but if we're going to survive, we had better get on the ball. What I found about leadership is there's consequences. And as you go through this series of training on the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, you don't have to agree with the laws, you don't have to even like the laws, but I'm here to tell you, they'll make you or break you, they'll bless you or curse you. And if you learn how to apply them to your life, it'll be amazing how successful you become. And the last observation I want to make about these leadership laws is that these laws are the foundation of leadership. They're the foundation of leadership. This is what you build your leadership life on. So, I'm ready to go. Let me ask you a question. Are you ready to go?